I talked to a student recently at one of our woke college campuses who said she's required in every class to introduce herself and to give her pronouns. Well, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
Bam! Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We're back to our Monday through Friday routine, and here we are. If you're live, folks, and you want to be live Monday through Friday, you can only do that. There's only one way to do that. That's to become a premium member. But there's two ways to become a premium member. You can go to thepreparedmind.club or you can go to subscribestar.com. Either way, it's $2. And you get the whole month, Monday through Friday, where you can ask questions live. Now, we start that every day, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can also participate if you're a part of the premium channel. You can just email your questions in. You can send them in. You can put them in. You can show up, just put in your question, leave, come back, watch later. There's all kinds of ways to participate. And remember, when you're here live, your questions help other people get prepared because chance favors the prepared mind. Look at everything that's going on. Imagine if you didn't know what we know and what we talk about here. You might be a little confused. You might be uninformed. You might even go get the Jim Jones juice because you don't know better. Oh, yes, folks. Let me give it to you right out the box. Right out the box. Mr. Kirby, big mouth spokesman for the Biden administration, says that, quote, there is not a consensus right now in the U.S. government about exactly how COVID started. Okay, folks, my bullshit detector went right off the fucking chart. The needle snapped, bam, flew across the room, hit the wall, and stuck. What crock of shit. After 3 years, they don't know. After 3 years, they can't come up with a good enough lie that there's consensus on it even? Oh, they know, folks. Ask Dr. Fauci. I bet he knows exactly because wasn't it Dr. Fauci who was funding research at the Wuhan lab, even though he denies under oath in testimony before the Senate that it's not gain of function, even though it's gain of function, and that he's not funding it, even though he's funding it. After 3 years, they don't fucking have a clue. The world was shut down. Supposedly, it was the worst pandemic of all time. And they don't know. They haven't, after 3 fucking years, with all the resources the federal government has, they haven't figured out, quote, exactly how COVID started. The next day, they were like, yeah, it was bat soup, and now they don't know 3 years later. It leaked out that there's a fucking bioweapons research lab there. Isn't that a violation of international law? Folks, this is a lawless government in China, in D.C., in Brussels, and folks, every major country, every country. They're all fucking lawless governments. All they give a shit about is their own power, their own wealth, right? Frustrating as fuck. And yeah, I have a giant headache today. I tell you. I absolutely tell you. Okay. After 3 years. 3 fucking years, they have no idea. There's no consensus. Not a bit. They have no clue. What do you think? What do you think? Okay, let's do this. Let's do another question. Get your questions down below. I'm going to do my monologue and then come back. Now, listen, folks. These fruitcake schools, you think we've got them on the ropes? Bam, bam. You think we got them? Pow, pow, right? Yeah, we got them. They're on the fucking ropes. We see them. We're letting them have it. Right? We're giving them the business. But they're not giving up. Folks, they're continuing to push their bullshit. Down in Santa Monica at the Malibu School District, they want to discuss changing the, bylaws so that they can hide gender change information from parents. This school now wants to open girls' sports to boys. Now listen, if they want to open girls' sports to allow boys to play with girls, that's one thing. But are they opening girls' sports to trans boys? I say that everyone needs to light this shit up. Call, write, complain, email, find this Santa Monica Malibu school board or school district and just flood them with fucking emails telling them what a bunch of freaks they are. Another fruitcake school needs to be stopped. And folks, let me tell you about the first fruitcake school that came to everyone's attention nationally. Right? This would be the Loudoun County in Northern Virginia. That's the school board that started all of this woke CRT, critical race theory, anti-white woke bullshit, and got nailed for it. That was like the epicenter of this fucking crap being started against our children, against our grandchildren. And I'm going to be a granddad in another couple of months. So I don't like the idea of little grandson John going to some woke fucked up school where they want to show him, right, with Mr. Potato Head, how he's supposed to take it. Unbelievable. Well, get this, folks. We're going back to that school. We're going from Malibu, Santa Monica, all the way across the country, back to Loudoun School to talk about what it is they're doing. Well, one of their school board members, that loves this trans bullshit, right? Remember, the same board is now being investigated for covering up, for hiding, for facilitating the double sexual assault by one of these little trans fruitcakes that sexually assaulted a girl while pretending to be a girl while being in the girl's bathroom. Apparently had a penis still. Yeah, because, I'm trans. Trans means I'm anywhere. I'm 1% trans. I'm 99% trans. What's the fucking difference? All you have to do is say you're trans and you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? Well, these idiots, one particular idiot on the school board pissed me off good today. So good that I am now donning the black Marine Corps shirt. Right? This stupid bitch, right, decided to say something about an American military victory. This person's name is Abrar Omish, obviously a radical leftist socialist Democrat. And for some reason in Loudoun County, Virginia, the voters decided to elect this fruitcake to the Fairfax County School Board. And this is what she had to say about the Battle of Iwo Jima. Quote, set a record for really what human evil is capable of. Are you fucking kidding me? And she said it, quote, unfortunately happened. That would be the Battle of Iwo Jima. Okay. It was really unfortunate that Japan decided to bomb Pearl Harbor and bring America into World War II in the Pacific Theater. That's right. Now, the Battle of Iwo Jima, that is one of the most famous icons in Marine Corps lore. There's the picture of the several Marines hoisting and lifting the American flag on top of Iwo Jima, right? The the story goes that every living plant on that island was bombed, exploded, shot, etc. In order to take that island. It was a bloody fest of nastiness. The Japanese were dug in caves underground, right? They weren't giving up. The Americans weren't giving up. Nobody gave up. Now, my ex-wife's grandfather, God rest his soul, fought on both Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima. Okay. The men that died taking that island was done in an effort to put America in the position to end World War II. And that's what happened there. And this fruitcake is calling it a record for what human evil is capable of. No mention of Hitler there. No mention of Stalin. No mention of Chairman Mao, who the three of them are responsible for killing 100 million of their own people. Not to mention other countries that they slaughtered along the way in their conquest for socialist victory. Yet this socialist moron wants to say that the Marines that fought to take Iwo Jima, that's really what human evil is capable of. They were ordered into battle. They were ordered to take the island. And it's a volcanic hot island nonetheless, folks. It is a nasty, hot little rock, Iwo Jima. It's famous battle. It is critical to the victory in World War II in the Pacific. And this stupid bitch wants to say that. Folks, it is any wonder. Is it any wonder at all that we're in the position we're in right now? Shit hitting the fan. A government that doesn't know its ass from a hole in the ground. That's destroying the economy, our education system. The military itself is under attack from within by these fruitcakes that believe that, well, if you don't love everything about the left, then you must be a racist, white supremacist. Even if you're Asian, even if you're black, you're a fucking white supremacist, according to these people. It's unbelievable. It is shocking and stunning that this person has the unmitigated temerity and stupidity to say the most ignorant, stupid shit ever. This is one more reason, folks, why I am waiting for the day to educate these people the hard way. You know, I did not fight on Iwo Jima. I wasn't even born then. But by golly, how can you not understand how important that is? What a stupid bitch. Honestly. The Japanese in the Pacific Theater were a powerful nation, a superpower, a naval superpower at the time. Their army, their Marines, the Japanese Marines are hardcore. And they fought to the death. They were warriors. They weren't going to give up. They weren't going to retreat. They had to be defeated every step of the way, starting from the Solomon Islands and then working north. It was an incredibly hard fought part of the war. This is the Pacific Theater. I'm not even talking about Europe, right? Or Africa. Unbelievable. And this nitwit twit from somewhere in the Middle East has no fucking clue about anything. Let us move on, if we shall. Just makes me fucking mad as fuck, right? Way back then in Iwo Jima, till all the way now, the fighting men in the Army and the Marine Corps who fought in Afghanistan, right? Who were shot at, blown up, lit up by every fruitcake terrorist on the planet. You know, they fight and they die for us. The Marines and the Army, they fight and they die for us. The Navy puts themselves at risk as well, yes. The Air Force puts themselves at risk as well, yes. But the men standing there with rifles, looking for the enemy, and this stupid bitch says they're evil. Folks, I'll tell you what, people don't like Japan for doing Pearl Harbor. But if you're Japanese, you can understand, right, what was going on. The Imperial Navy, the Imperial military of Japan was doing what the emperor wanted. They're serving their government. Right? Was it wrong to do Pearl Harbor on Sunday? Well, if you want to accept the whole cultural premise, et cetera, but it pissed us off. All you're doing is asking for a fucking fight. Well, they got it. Right? But they believed in their side every bit as much as we do, or we did. So I get it. Right? But this stupid bitch is calling us evil while she's in our government system, even though it's just the educational system. Who the fuck is she? Except she's bringing a foreign, alien belief system into our country that encompasses not only bad political decisions, bad spiritual decisions, it encompasses bad social decisions and sexual decisions, because I'm sure she is all about the trans as well. Anything that destroys this country, they're all about. Am I presuming too much? They're stunning and they're unbelievable, folks, in their ignorance and their hatred for this country. Now, let's continue if we shall. Over in Hungary, no, Hungary is that way. Over in Hungary, their FM, which I guess would be the foreign minister, has called for the United Nations to investigate the terror attack on the Nord Stream pipeline. And they're alleging, everyone is now alleging, that it goes all the way to the top on the American side and involves Biden. What do you think is going to happen, folks, if an investigation does happen? And they do say, yes, Biden was involved, and names any other country as well. What happens to NATO when one NATO country or two or three participate in a terrorist attack that affects other NATO countries? Do you see what's at risk here? NATO is trying to justify its existence and claim that it is needed and has to be trusted to take care of the Russian problem. All the while, NATO, if involved, and I say if, involved in the Nord Stream pipeline attack, is attacking itself in order to make the enemy look like the enemy. Their enemy to look like our enemy. They're creating an enemy for us by attacking us. Wait a minute, we have a name for that. It's called a false flag. This story is real, folks. This investigation needs to happen. And the United Nations, can they just let it slide? They've been trying to let it slide. Since the bombing happened and they blew the pipeline up, nobody has said shit about any of it until it popped up a few weeks ago, and then Cy Hirsch talked about it and brought it up again. And Russia has brought it up again, and Hungary has brought it up again, and Germany has brought it up again. It's not going away. The people know who did it, or they're so suspicious that I don't think they can get away without doing an investigation. But I'm not worried about the investigation, folks. I have my own suspicions. What I am concerned about is what happens to the North American or North Atlantic Treaty Organization. If America, if England, if Norway or any other country is involved in this, what happens to NATO? Think about it, folks. They want to destroy America. They want to destroy every European country. Shouldn't that also mean that they want to destroy NATO? If they want the West to fall, then they need every single nation to fall, and every national alliance or international alliance must fall as well. This doesn't surprise me at all. It shocks the hell out of me, but I'm not surprised, because their evil that wants to destroy the culture of every European country and every North American country, their evil knows no limits. They want you to eat bugs. America, Europe, Canada, England, Australia, everyone eat bugs. Take the Jim Jones juice and hope that your heart doesn't fucking explode. It's stunning, folks. It's unbelievable. It is SHTF. Are you surprised still? It's just it's frosting my cake, folks. It really is. I mean, it's gonna kill you. Oh, by the way, I just figured I would remind you. We had a little problem with the Jim Jones juice. Remember that 28-year-old actor? The 28-year-old actor? It was suspected, right? We're like, yeah, 28-year-old kind of actor. was on The Walking Dead, in fact, died. Well, his family's confirmed, folks. Family's confirmed that he had heart issues. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Are you surprised? Well, get this, folks. On top of that, I want to just remind everyone that we have some issues to face. Let's take a wild guess into sports. A 31-year-old baseball player, a former minor league pitcher. That means he's a super athlete, folks. Former New York Mets minor league pitcher Matt Poberico, that's a name, dead. How did he die? He died suddenly. What failed on him? His heart. That's right, folks. Another edition of the Pfizer Files. Yep, unbelievable, folks. It continues. I don't spend every day beating it into the ground, but I want to let you know that it's continuing. It has not stopped. Don't expect it to stop. I don't. Now, let's continue with the unbelievable horseshit, the stunning catastrophe that is the U.S. government. 28 different defendants who are in jail defending themselves for their January 6th participation in a protest. They've signed a petition to Speaker of the House, Kevin the Scumbag McCarthy. They want him to release the January 6th footage to them and, of course, to the mainstream media and to the Gateway Pundit and to everybody. They want it released, made public. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that for defense, you have a right to all information available. Whether the government has it or a person has it or a corporation has it, they have a right to self-defense. They have a right to all materials available for a criminal trial. It's called disclosure. The government is making a case saying they've committed a crime. They have evidence that could exonerate or prove this. It's called disclosure. Video footage of the Congress is not a national security item or issue. It happened 2 fucking years ago. So who cares? Right? If a senator or a congressman is walking down the hall on one of these cameras, doesn't matter. It's not a national secret. But, you know, I could use their fucking sayings against them. Well, if you've got nothing to hide, then release the evidence. Right? No. This evidence is public. They're public security cameras in a public building owned by the American people. Put it out there. These people have a right to a fair trial. Disclosure is part of that. It's unbelievable that this is even a fucking issue. Well, it's an issue because the government is lying, folks. It is lying, and it gets better or worse depending on your perspective. I mean, get this. Get this right here. The Department of Justice's star witness has collapsed in court. Right? The prosecutors want to muzzle the defense because they fucked up big time. Right? Their star witness, folks, becomes their worst enemy. The supposed traitor, Jeremy Bertino, a.k.a. Noble Beard, really, that's a name, messed up in court for the government. Right? He kind of did turncoat on his other friends, right? But they blew it, right? He perjured himself under oath several times. He contradicted his own FBI interviews. And look out. This guy has turned, right? He shit on his friends and then he ended up fucking the government over. Interesting, huh? Interesting. There was no planned insurrection. This is all bullshit. But now the government looks stupid. Right? Unbelievable that this is going on, that this is being allowed to continue, that they're going to continue to prosecute people and withhold evidence. Unfucking believable. I tell you. Unbelievable. What a sham the U.S. government is. Well, in a way, I'm almost happy this fucking guy, the noble beard, I'm kind of happy that he fucked himself up and perjured himself. I'm sure they'll prosecute himself for lying. But maybe some more will come out during that, is that he was threatened. I mean, everyone's threatened by the government. Hey, look, we're going to prosecute you, throw you in federal prison every day. We're going to be ass raped every single day unless you do what we say and tell the lies we tell you to tell. I don't know why that isn't illegal. You know, because it's fun to say, oh, if you're a criminal, you deserve that. Well, I'm sure that once you're in prison, you're going to start thinking about your ass. And speaking of asses, what the fuck is Janet Yellen doing kissing the ass of Volodymyr Zelensky over in Ukraine? That's right, folks. Janet Yellen made a surprise visit all the way across the planet to Ukraine. I mean, was she going to the store to buy herself some Geritol and maybe some Metamucil? And she just happened to land her plane in Ukraine, and she was like, hey, how you doing there, Zelensky? I'm going to give you another $1.25 billion. We have a problem with our Veterans Administration. We have a problem in our own country with homelessness. We have a problem in our own border. We have a problem in our schools. We have problems funding our own social issues, and most of them should be wiped away anyways. We have a problem, folks, yet we're going to send that money over to Ukraine. Remember when that Ukrainian parliamentary person, she stood up and said, yeah, we should get $500 billion. And Zelensky's like, you Americans, if you don't stand up and start supporting us more, then your boys and your girls, your sons, your daughters are going to die fighting the Russians. Really. They're upping it, folks. They're upping it. And if the United States and Biden are found guilty in any investigation of participating in the Nord Stream pipeline, what choice would the U.S. have other than to pull back and say, right, because of the treachery in the U.S. government, bombing their own allies, the fuel supply of their allies, bombing that, they have to leave NATO in shame. And folks, there may be retaliation from NATO against the United States. Certainly, they could kick the United States out of Europe. What a quandary Europe is in, folks. Do you want an ally who's willing to bomb your energy? How about if they start bombing your electric lines? What if they start bombing your crops? What else can the United States government with its allies, if, folks, this is a big if they're involved in this, what else can they just bomb and say, hey, we're going to bomb what we want. And if you don't like it, we'll take all of our bases out of Europe. All of our naval bases, all of our air bases, all of our army bases. We'll just take them out of Europe. And you can face Russia yourself. So Europe's like, do we want an ally to keep their naval, air force, and army bases here when they could also turn around and perform acts of espionage and terror and then deny it and lie about it? Folks, there's a big problem here. You see what I'm talking about? It is a simply stunning development. Right now, all Putin has to do is sit back and watch and let Sergei Lavrov and Maria Zakharova scream and yell that this is sabotaged by the Americans, it's sabotaged by the Brits, it's sabotaged by your own NATO allies. And just keep that line going because it's working and it's having the effect that Russia would want to have. Oh, shit is not hit the fan, John. I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's just fine in the world. Yeah, that's really smart thinking. One last thing before I switch over to your questions. Obama's White House doctor says we're getting closer to an all-out war and people are going to get killed because Biden has cognitive decline. If you really believe, though, for 1 second, that Biden is the one making the decision, that Biden's the one making the decisions about what we're supposed to do in Europe with Russia and NATO and the world, well, you may need to have your head checked as well. But I'm sure that this doctor, right, Obama's White House doctor, I'm sure that Obama has called for a straitjacket to silence him, right, because they don't need, right, Biden's cognitive decline being an issue. We all know it's real. They'll whisk the old man away when it's necessary, but they need him in place. I'm contending now, and will continue to contend, that Biden's complete lack of mental sharpness, right, his mental acuity, his cognitive decline will be used as an excuse for all the things that he does and allow him just to be whisked away at the end. He's disposable. They'll use him until they don't need him anymore. All right, folks, I tell you what a start to the week. Let's do this. Let's switch over to Ask John Live. And here we are. All right. We got Uman. We have Jolene. Everyone is in the house taking care of business. So what topic do we want to bring up first? What do you guys want to discuss? It's your show now. Jolene, who do we want to pop on there? And it's Chin Music stepping up. He says every narrative is collapsing. What he means by that is we see through their bullshit. Whoosh. Wipe the dust away, blow away the smoke, right? And you can see clearly. He says, expect them to get desperate and dangerous, or should I say more so? That's a great way to put it. They are desperate. And folks, desperation breeds dangerous decision-making, right? In order to hide the Jim Jones juice, well, right, they did some other things, right? In order to hide one thing, well, we got, what was it? Let's see. We got the cerveza bug, then we got the Jim Jones juice, and then we got the war in Ukraine. We have Hunter Biden, and we have secret files. Unbelievable. They went after Trump and tried arresting him for having secret documents, yet they haven't filed charges. Now we're looking at them going, well, you guys had a lot more secret documents than that, and we're not filing charges, right? The smoke is cleared, folks. The man behind the curtain is very, very clear. He's full of shit, right? We know who he is. It's all of the left. And they do become very dangerous at this point. Let me take us back to September 11th, 2001. Well, September 10th, we were told that the Pentagon lost a few $1 trillion in accounting. And that information, well, it just happened to get hit at the Pentagon the next day by an aeroplane that some say looked suspiciously like a missile. Funny how there was a hole in the wall at the Pentagon, but there wasn't a hole in the wall from the two giant jets. And there certainly wasn't holes in the wall from where the wings sliced through the Pentagon the way they should have if they could slice through the steel girders and beams of the Twin Towers. Funny how the steel or the aluminum wing can slice through steel on the Twin Towers, but doesn't do any damage at all on the Pentagon. It just makes a nice clean hole. And then that part of the Pentagon that burned to the ground just happened to contain the records of where the missing, $2.3 trillion was. that was just discussed? Interesting. There it is, right? Interesting. They got very desperate. They knew they were caught. So we just had to have a little event, and lo and behold, the information just disappeared off the planet. Yep, there you go. That's how that shit works. That's how that shit works. Okay, Jolene, who do we have next? What is next? It is Bonnie Blue 2A. She says, when the European Union has friends like the USA, who needs enemies? Can you imagine, well, not being England or France or Germany, can you imagine being one of these smaller, more inconsequential countries in the European Union? Maybe Greece? How about Hungary or Romania? Right? One of the small countries that has no real say in anything. They're just part of this union that is being abused by both sides. They're being abused by the United States as the major NATO power. Right? They're being abused because NATO wants to fight and cause a war that's causing smaller countries more and more harm. And they're actually causing the biggest, most powerful nation in the European Union, Germany, causing them massive economic consequences, both for business, for the government, and for the individual people. Yeah, when you have friends like that, who needs enemies? So what does Europe have? Folks, look at it this way. On the one hand, they have a land border with Russia. Who's more dangerous, Russia or the United States? The United States is across the Atlantic Ocean. Russia's right there and can invade anytime they want. Who would you be more afraid of if you were a European? They're very afraid of the Russians, yes? Yet they're flirting with war with Russia? Will every country in the European Union be told they have to send troops to Ukraine to fight Russia if this war persists? Why is it that the United States has to send our sons and our daughters over to fight a war for the European continent? Well, of course, because the United States government in Washington, D.C. wants this fight to happen. It's obvious. They participated in antagonizing and provoking Russia and Putin for years and years and years. But it's not just America, folks. It's not just America. Don't let them fool you. Don't let the bullshitters fool you. It's not just America. It's not just Joe Biden. It is every single chicken shit bastard at the top in every country over in Europe. Whether it's Boris Johnson or his ilk in England, or the scumbags in Germany or France or Italy, they're all pushing for this fight. And it's all at behest, folks, of who truly has the power. Right? Let's see. I care not who makes the laws, right? Give me the gold and I'll make the laws for them. It's who has the money, who controls the purse strings. They're the ones that pull the strings on the puppets. It is the banks, the banksters, the massive multi-trillion-dollar corporations that control everything. They control the militaries, they control the governments, they control, folks, the politicians. They really are nothing more than puppets, literal puppets that control these people. Do you believe that or not? Do you believe that Joe Biden, a feeble-minded, old, ridiculous, out-of-his-mind codger, is allowed to tell the United States military, the most powerful military on the planet, well, right up there with Russia and China anyways, that he's allowed to tell the military what to do? If you were a trillionaire or in charge of $1 trillion corporation, would you let Biden make decisions that could affect your company? If you were royalty that has trillions of dollars in gold, assets, stocks, bonds, would you allow some feeble-minded dipshit, some pedophile bullshit artist from Delaware possibly start World War III and destroy all of your factories? destroy all of your assets and cause so much war and havoc that you lose everything? Do you think that these people are going to let that happen? Everything that happens is done on purpose and is allowed. It's not an accident. And it's certainly not Biden's prerogative to decide how he wants to fight the Russians. They're given their orders, folks. It's that simple. That's why they don't like you, by the way, because as Americans, nobody tells us what to do as individuals. But individuals don't have power. So we don't get told what to do. You don't get told what to do. But the people at the top, in charge and powerful, they've been allowed and placed in those positions of power for one reason only. And that is because they will do as they're told, because they have been purchased already. Let us move on if we shall. Just sharing a few opinions. Mr. X says this: wish we could just stay out of other people's wars. If we could put as much effort in the U.S. problems as we do with other things outside the U.S., we would be doing better than ever. Yes, I agree totally. We need to quit. Let's see, what wars have we been in? Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Iraq again. There's numerous skirmishes in Africa. There are many skirmishes and wars around the world where the U.S. military is used to do dirty deeds. Right? You can go all the way back through the Gulf Wars. You can go all the way back, folks, to Vietnam, Korea. And it's always the U.S. being used by the real cartels of power to enrich them and the military-industrial complex. And the last time a president dared to speak about it was none other than General of the Allied Forces of World War II, who became President Eisenhower. And he warned in his departure from the White House about the military-industrial complex and secret societies. Folks, not the Moose Lodge or the Elks Lodge or the Masons Lodge or the Odd Fellows or the Lions Club or the Rotary Club. No, not that type of secret society. The secret societies are those clubs that have powerful men who control billions and trillions of dollars, who have clandestine meetings in secret places, and who own all the politicians in the world. Oh, yeah. There it is. All right. Unbelievable. Let's do this. Let's move on to the next question, if we shall. I know we've got a lot to do, and it's Ron. And Ron asked this question. He said, should the U.S. do a preemptive EMP strike and take out China now, before they invade Taiwan and before they strengthen their relationship with Russia? To make up for Ukraine, give up a chunk of Russia, or give up a chunk of China to Russia in exchange for oil and resources? So give up a chunk of China to Russia. Let's go back to the beginning of that. First part of that question, please. The United States cannot give up a chunk of China to Russia. Now, here's my thought. It's an interesting concept, Ron, and I wish I had buddies in the Pentagon that I could send this question to and see what their take is on it. Uman told me his take on it, but I'm going to ask you this, right? If the United States did a preemptive EMP strike on China and it did not work, or it took out all of the Chinese businesses which have, weakened or non-hardened systems, where would we get all of our cheap junk that we need to buy in America? Right? We would basically cripple ourselves because we don't have in America the ability to make all the things we need, because all of our corporations have taken their equipment and sent it to China and are manufacturing over there, making more money and taking money away from us. So imagine if we destroyed the means of production for all the crap that we need, but the Chinese military had hardened equipment so the EMP didn't affect that. They could retaliate with their own EMPs as well as their own nuclear warheads and start an international, global thermonuclear war. So I don't think it would probably be advisable, in my opinion. But yeah, they're in quite a position. And I understand your perspective. It's like, how do we stop China? Well, we, not me and you, but how about them? The U.S. government has allowed American corporations owned by extremely rich bastards to send their corporations and their means of production over to China, which is enriched and empowered China. And now China is so strong that it can do whatever the fuck it wants, including support Russia against us, while all the while turning around and selling us their chicken shit products out of China. The same way Russia is fighting Europe, and Europe has to keep buying Russia's energy at an extremely elevated cost, right? They tried sanctioning Russia, and they just said, well, fuck you then. We're going to raise the cost of the energy that you need to buy. And so somebody said, well, let's blow up their fucking pipelines then, which raised the costs even more, because now replacement energy has to come from who benefits? Yes, America. Who else benefits? Norway. Who else benefits? England. That's right, folks. Those three countries have enormous amounts of natural gas that they can compress into liquid, right? CNG, compressed natural gas. So yeah, let's see, America and Europe support Russia by buying their shit, and America and Europe support China by buying their shit, and they don't have an alternative. How smart is that? It's like looking down at your own balls and blowing them off. Fucking morons. I tell you. Yeah. I hear you, man. Ron, how do you approach this? Well, let's see. You tell every U.S. corporation that has their shit in China, you are not going to be allowed to sell in America anymore. Sell to the rest of the world? Fine. Fuck you. You are no longer an American corporation. Right? America's corporations should benefit America. Do American politicians have that kind of, shall we say, chutzpah? No, they don't. Would they even consider it? No, because they're owned. The same way Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, is owned. How many butt pirate movies do they have of him and all his buddies? How many movies do they have in that they could release, right? Presumably to embarrass him and his family and destroy his reputation. Right? Yeah, let me ask this one question of Speaker of the House McCarthy. Why haven't you impeached Joe Biden yet? Because we know you have the evidence. We've all seen and heard the evidence of the crimes he's committed against the American people in violation of his oath, right? Bordering on and even just bypassing treason or any notion of, well, that's not treasonous. I don't think so. I think it's all treason. Where is it, McCarthy? Where is the impeachment? Why are we not even hearing that word? The president now is being accused by many nations, including our enemies, of bombing a gas pipeline that feeds Europe. Right? That is awful, folks. Yet we're not going to impeach the man who's being accused of that. It's believed he's done that. Well, he deserves his day in court. Oh, you mean like the American prisoners that are being held by their own government and having what? All of their rights obstructed, having their evidence withheld that could exonerate them? Yeah, it's that world, folks. It's SHTF. Okay, Jolene, let's do this. Let's continue. We have Mikey G, and he brings up a subject that I kind of wanted to talk about, and now I get a chance. Governor DeSantis down in Florida has done what? He's removed the special self-regulating, self-governing status that Disney Corporation has in the state of Florida. He's revoked that. He's cut that off. And now, folks, now they have to obey all the Florida laws. They no longer get to make up their own rules. Good. What I had to say about this, folks, made perfect sense. Being perverted and woke as a corporation has consequences. Wasn't it the director or the executive in charge of Disney Media? Didn't she say that she's going to put woke crap in every single thing that Disney produces? woke, perverted shit. Well, yep, they keep pushing it. They kept fighting. Disney said that they were going to, go after DeSantis and make his life hell. I think they realized and found out that, well, there's at least a couple of states out there that believe in law and order. And I guess Florida is one of them. Good. I hope DeSantis goes after him. I hope that the Department of Justice and the Attorney General in Florida go after Disney for all their violations of law. They now have to agree to, like it or not, obey the law. So what can they go after him for? Disney now has to buy all kinds of commercial licenses from the county that they're in and the state that they're in to do business. They have to now meet all safety codes and standards. They have to meet all health codes and standards. They have to meet all employee or employment codes and standards. They have to pay all the taxes that all other corporations pay. Fuck you, Disney Corporation. I don't believe that's the vision Walt Disney had for what was once one of the great entertainment venues and centers. And a lot of people say, oh, they've been woke and fucked up for years. I believe that, but all the way back to the early days, well, I wasn't around back then. But certainly didn't appear that way, watching old Disney cartoons. Always been a little odd, though. Let's move on, if we shall. We got Chin Music back. Thank you, Chin Music. He says, John, how does Monday feel after a Sunday full of Scottish water and satire? I'm still 6'6", but it feels like my ass is dragging on the ground. Did I sleep really good? I took a brief coma that was not nearly long enough. My liver is singing a song that was once sang in, I think the movie was Jaws, right? Show me the way to go home. Boom, boom, boom. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Yeah, that one. That's how I feel. But I'll tell you what, as tired as I am, as beat down as I am, as, well, everything else, this part of me is sharp as a fucking tack. And my body feels strong and resilient. And when I get done here, I'm going to do some exercise. I'm going to go lift some weights, pump some iron, and make sure that the body stays as strong as the mind. A lot of people fear, and I hear about it, right, that I'm an alcoholic and that I'm damaging my body, right? Well, if I have a few drinks, folks, it's nothing compared to what people used to drink all the time. I am, as much as I can be, very, very healthy and health conscious. I eat as healthy a diet as I can. As healthy a diet as I can afford anyways, right? But I exercise and I think and I do the very best I can to stay in good shape. Certainly, I would put this 53-year-old body up against just about any 20-something-year-old out there. I did it when I was 39, and I beat men in their 20s in a strongman competition. Right? I've always been a robust physical individual. And so can I abuse it every now and then on a Sunday Night Live? Yeah. Does it hurt? Yes, it does. Do I come back stronger than ever? So far. I don't want to push myself to the point that I'm injured or permanently hurt by it. Of course not. And I thank all of you for contributing to my delinquency. I also thank all of you for contributing to and encouraging me to continue to perform on this show. I could save myself 4 or 5 hours a day and not have anything to do with this channel ever again and get more sleep, more exercise. But I love doing this because it is a calling. It is. And some people don't agree with my language. Some people don't agree with my drinking. Some people don't agree, right? They think it harms my credibility or the show's credibility. I don't take myself too seriously, but I take the information very, very seriously. This show could be something fabulous and beyond beyond. It could have been something really great. Is that my fault that it didn't? Possibly. Or is it, well, woke social media, woke big tech, woke big politics, woke everything that took the fire out from under this channel? Look at the mainstream media. Look and listen to the New York Times. Is it my drinking of alcohol or my harsh language or my conspiracy theories that drove people away and stopped us growing at 80,000 subscribers? The answer is no. Of course, I had fucking nothing to do with that. In fact, I think America was ready for someone to come out and tell it like it fucking is, right? And to cut all the chicken shit out and to fucking lay it all out there and say, here's my theory and here's my evidence and you should think about it. Instead, what do they say? Well, they're already so far past. Let's just quiet the channel down. Let's just hide it. Let's just stop promoting it. Let's start punishing them. Now the New York Times wants to kill free speech on the internet everywhere forever. That's what they're now pushing and promoting. Not just we need to have fair, not just you need to be nice about what you're saying, not just we need to fact check John and everyone using our own fact checkers with their own ideas about how the world works. They just want to silence us altogether. That, my friends, is war. Some people are ready to fight. I'm seeing and continue to see lots of jarheads out there, lots of soldiers of all different age groups, and they're ready to fucking fight. They are. I see anchor globes and eagles everywhere, folks. I think the government understands there's a lot more veterans out there than even we like to think about. All right, Jolene says, we got some questions. Let's move it. Heidi says, I saw a video about a certain group of Abraham's descendants whose leader said that unbelievers should be beheaded. He was totally anti-Asian and included all believers who celebrate Xmas 6 billion. I'm not talking about the Allah Akbar people, the ones with the blue star on the white flag. Followers of Allah will be chopped also. Can we please put up the first part of that again? There's a video about a certain group of Abraham's descendants. Now, I'll just stop right there and say that this idea of beheading or killing one's spiritual enemies or one's religious enemies, that has been around for an awful long time. This age of enlightenment that we're now supposed to be living in was supposed to put an end to that. And the idea that there is a agnostic approach to dealing with the divine being, the creator, right? Whatever name you want to give them, they said, can't we all just believe in a overall God? Yet there are groups that believe that they're special, that God loves them first and foremost, and everyone else he considers garbage, right? There's groups out there that think, well, the way you convert people to your religion, which they believe is right, accurate, and so you should, convert people or cut their heads off, right? You can read the Quran, folks. You can read the Torah. You can read all these religious books and see where their adherents stand. Right? It's awful that that's how these people think. And they want to say that, we're supremacists, right? White supremacy and racism in America is the worst thing, yet these people who make that claim also want to chop our heads off or throw us in death camps, right? It's all a bunch of crap. It's used to divide people. It's used to control people. Right. Wow. I'm tired of these people and their whole, let's just kill everybody we don't like. Whether they do it using religious beliefs or they use their perverted science, whether they're just anti-human, anti-life, and, adversarial to all things good, Satanists. Right. whether they read the books of the Talmud or they read the books of the Quran, whether they're mild believers or zealot adherents, right? It's a mess. And look at the troubles they're causing. All I do every day is get up and go do my job and pay my taxes and treat everyone nicely. You would expect that the rest of the world would have learned by now that that's how it works. Instead, they make enemies of me and you and America and our culture and our tradition, and they prescribe death to us or say that we're cattle to them, right? That we're cattle. And that's what they think, right? We're less than them, and that they have a right and a duty to kill all of us. Well, I get tired of that sometimes. Thankfully, none of them try it for me personally. But I think we're going to end up fighting, folks. We're going to end up dealing with that. Right? I think everyone is ultimately going to have to pay, right, the price for their belief systems. I may have to pay the price for my belief system, which is to fight for it. Okay, let's move on if we shall. Michael Brown is to say, John, if the elites are puppets, then we're prostitutes. Well, not me or the Prepared Mind Network. I used to be scared to die as a child until I figured out what God's plan really was. Hashtag not for sale. It's an interesting perspective. The prostitute for money will perform all manner of sexual act required. And the greater the sexual perversion, typically you would figure the greater the payoff or payback. So the elites are puppets, right? The elites in our government are puppets, and they are prostitutes. And the people that pay them, they're paymasters. If there's anyone above them, then they too are prostitutes. They sell out to each other. It's a disgusting circle. You say, Michael, that you used to be scared to die as a child. Right. I used to be scared as well. But you figure out after a while. And you figured out what God's plan was. And I'm glad you have, brother. Right. You learn with age and wisdom that there's certain things that are worth living for. And there's certain things that are worth dying for. There's certain things that we should shed. We don't need to worry about certain things. And other things are so dear, you should hold on to them so tightly. They're so important and so valuable. Right? They're so sacred that to give them up, right, is a violation and a sin against yourself as well as God. I mean, that's I'm going to ask all of you, do you know of anything to you that is that sacrosanct, that important, that it is not for sale? Doesn't matter your gender or your race, doesn't matter your age, whether or not you're a veteran or not. Is there something that is so sacred to you that it's not for sale? But these people in charge, folks, they are for sale, and that's how they got there. And they've been paid for. And by coming on here, right, and putting my face on here and putting my mind out there, they have a perfect picture psychologically of who I am and what I believe. They know exactly who I am. Fuck them. Right? I'm not for sale. I guess they could try. Maybe they will someday. Just offer me some money. Hey, John, why don't you start saying you love Biden? Here's a couple of $1 million. I think that if I actually came on here and said, everyone, Joe Biden is the best president ever. I'm never going to say another bad thing about the man. And everything I ever said about him was, well, it was wrong. I was wrong. I've really looked into Joe Biden, and he's a great guy, right? He's just the absolute best. Ring, ring, ring. Oh, hey, Trump, yeah, I think Biden is better than you, and you're an awful human. There's nothing you can say. Yeah, I'm not going to change my mind. I've been bought off by the New World Order. That's right. The deep state has paid me off. The World Economic Forum, they've given me several millions of dollars, and now I'm going to be a sellout fuck, just like the rest of everyone in Washington, D.C. Right. No. Anyways, Mike, thanks, buddy. Not for sale. Not for sale. At least they haven't offered me enough money to make me really, really consider it. Yeah. You would know, folks, if I had been bought off. Okay, is that it? Are we done? Have we covered everything? No, it's Bonnie Blue 2A. Redacted. The Clayton Morris Show is reporting the reason the United States has to keep sending longer range weapons to Ukraine is because of the distance Russia is pushing back Ukraine forces. Life expectancy at the front, 4 hours. Ukrainians are cannon fodder for the NATO proxy war. Yes, yes, and yes, that is true. Now, of course, NATO, the West, Western media is saying that Ukraine is fighting back and victorious, and they kill 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 Russians a month. Folks, if that were the case, that's like 10 Vietnam Wars for the United States that Russia has suffered in one fucking year. Is that believable? I don't think so. Now, let us continue. If Ukrainians and their army were pushing the Russians back, they wouldn't need longer and longer range missile systems. They would need shorter and shorter missile systems because there would be a close frontline skirmish and Ukraine would be able to get in there and just whip some ass. Instead, the Russians appear to have a longer reach with their missiles, their rockets, their bombs, their tanks, their jets, their drones, and that's why Ukraine has to fight from greater and greater distances to have any effect. And it is terrible, folks, that people are used as cannon fodder. That is to say, they're human shields and human targets, and they're dispensable. Well, they've been dispensed, and they're disposable. It's sad, extremely sad. I've gone long. It is Monday. And I want to thank everyone for showing up, for joining us on the Prepared Mind channel. This isn't over, folks. Everything we talked about today is a continuation and new news stories from today. Tomorrow morning, when I do Zero Dark 30, there's going to be new information that comes out that we add to the old information, and we continue to add and add and add so that, right, chance favors the prepared mind. The rest of America, the rest of the planet that's unprepared, they really don't have a clue. They really don't know. They're really at risk. Folks, aren't you glad you are a prepper? I'm going to leave you with that. And folks, I will see you bright and early. Zero Dark 30.